Let's do some math. Oh, shoot, hold on, sorry. Yeah, Be Real went off. Anyway, where were we? Math, right. Yes. There are 8,760 hours in a year. Sounds like a lot. If we take away the average American sleeps 7 hours a night, 365 days a year, that puts us at 2,555 hours of sleep. If we take that from our total time, that brings us down to 6,205 total waking hours. Next, the dreaded job. The average American works 8 hours a day, 260 days a year, which brings us to a total of 2,080 hours. If we take that from our remaining awake time, we are left with 4,125 hours, which sounds like a lot. Dang it. Sorry, my mom texted me. Where was I? Yes, 4,125 remaining hours. In 2020, the average American spent 1,300 hours on social media. Let me say that again. The average American spent 1,300 hours. That is nearly 32% of your remaining leisure time in a day. What can we possibly gain from 1,300 hours of social media? For comparison, it takes roughly 800 hours of in-class time to earn an associate's degree in nursing. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should become a nurse. I know a lot of people that faint at the sight of the blood. But what I am saying is that we should be more conscious of our time. Humans are slow to change. Speaking of slow to change, the cigarette was first introduced in France in 1843. A new machine that automated the rolling of them allowed the mass sale and production. 111 years later, the first credible research performed by Dr. Horn and Dr. Hammond of the American Cancer Society stated that a man who regularly smokes is more likely to have premature death than one who never smoked. With this as scientific fact, 70 years later, in 2024, an average of 480,000 people in America alone still die from smoking-related causes. That's the equivalent of the entire city of Miami being wiped off every single year in America alone. Humans are stubborn and slow to change. We're slow to change our thinking because that's the way it's always been. When truthfully, the only thing that's always been is change. We accept that cigarettes are dangerous, as evidenced by the 1983 movie, The Outsiders, when Dallas says, "Got a cancer stick, Johnny?" Similarly, I believe social media is harmful to our society. I believe it's become an addiction to the point where people are incapable of walking or driving or talking to one another without the influence of technology. I believe that it is commonplace to message someone in the exact same room as you. I believe it's commonplace that any inkling of boredom creeping up, you default to scrolling mindlessly through your phone to fill a void. Why? Why are we humans so slow to change? Continuing the trend, asbestos was first introduced commercially in 1866. The first report claiming that asbestos caused death was in 1906. It took 83 more years until asbestos products were finally banned in the United States by the EPA. Similarly, in 4th century BC, the first use of lead in paint was introduced. As early as 1786, Benjamin Franklin wrote about the dangers and harmful effects of lead in paint. It took until 1978 for paint companies to be required to remove lead from their paint. Why? Why are we so slow to change? Now, people don't see social media in the same way. They see it as useful. I am not the poster child for an anti-social media campaign, but I have lived some of my best moments disconnected from social media and from my phone. And I want to encourage everyone to use social media as simply a tool, not a crutch. We're brushing off the negative effects of social media because people aren't dying from lung cancer or from asbestos poisoning or from lead poisoning. But there is proof that social media can lead to increased suicide rates. So yes, people are dying and we're doing nothing to stop it. Now let's look at this normal schedule. 8 a.m., wake up to an alarm on your phone. 8:15, brush your teeth while listening to your favorite podcast. 8:30, listen to that same podcast while eating breakfast. On your way to work, you're listening to another podcast. You get to work. You work for a couple hours. 10 a.m. rolls around. You get stressed by customers, so you decide to go and take a break where you scroll mindlessly through social media. You head back to work 15 minutes later. Noon rolls around. It's time for lunch. And what goes better with your bologna sandwich than watching your favorite YouTuber's new video? You head back to work. Again, you get stressed by customers at 1 p.m. And you default to scrolling mindlessly while taking a break. You work the rest of your shift and head home while using your phone as a map because there's construction and you only know one way to get home. Once you get home, you sit down on the couch and you scroll through your phone and you check on social media. You check on your favorite celebrities. You check and see what your friends and families are doing. And before you know it, it's 8 p.m. You're hungry, so you order through your phone, through DoorDash, to bring food to you. 8:45 rolls around and you decide to hang out with your friends via a virtual FaceTime. 10 a.m. and it's time to go to bed. You scroll through social media to see if anything else has changed while you're on the phone call. And you set your alarm for the next day, plug it in, and set your phone on the nightstand just to do it again the next day. Now, what does it have to do with anything? Think about it like this. 8 a.m., you wake up. What's the best thing to start the morning off with? Is a fresh cigarette. 8:30, you eat breakfast, you smoke a cigarette. You head to work, why not smoke one on the way? You get to work, you get stressed by customers at 9, and so what you do is you take a smoke break out back. What goes better with your bologna sandwich than a quick smoke break? You head back into work. You go and you take another smoke break because you get stressed by customers at 1. On your way home from work, you get another cigarette and smoke another cigarette. Once you get home, you smoke a cigarette waiting before your food arrives. Then you smoke another cigarette while it comes to you. Once your friends come over, you smoke another cigarette. And when you're finally done for the day, you lay in your bed and you take your final puff and put it in the ashtray just to start over again. In this standard day schedule, every single time that you decide, I need a void in my life filled with something, instead of defaulting to social media, you can look at it as if you're defaulting to a cigarette. I have worked the past 2 summers as a camp counselor in a completely and utterly technology-free zone. At the beginning of each week, new campers come and there are no technology involved. As well as the staff, we all take our phones, we put them in a box that is locked away in the office until the end of the week. It's a weird adjustment to get used to, especially in the day and age we live in. But once you finally get used to it, the difference is immeasurable. The first thing you notice is that your sleep schedule becomes more regular, and you feel more rested each day when you wake up, without the constant bombardment of stimulus from every single news outlet and social media post you could ever imagine. You are able to relax. The next thing you notice is that you're able to have real conversations with other people without the influence of technology. You are able to give your full attention to something, unlike when you have your phone sitting in your pocket. It's crazy, the results. By the end of the week, you're able to get your phone out of a box. And a lot of the times, don't even remember to do so. Now, I want that change for everyone. So what can you do to help yourself in your future? Our future. We're all in on this together. If this were as simple as asbestos, I would recommend, after the first person died, not to buy products with asbestos. Or after the first person died from lead poisoning, I would recommend not buying paint with lead in it. the first person died from lung cancer caused by cigarette usage, I would recommend not smoking. Now, we don't live in a world where it's realistic to set down your phone and be able to still stay connected. So the first thing I'll recommend is turn off non-essential notifications. You do not need to know every single time your favorite celebrity posts what he or she is eating for dinner. The next thing that you can do is put timers on all of your apps and stick to them, because it is very, very easy to set the timer, make your own passcode, and then once you run out of time, just change how much time you get. Stick to it. Delete social media altogether. I understand it's beneficial. I understand it's important to connect with family and friends, but those who are really close to you are going to be able to still get a hold of you somehow. The last thing I'll say is put your phone in black and white. It reduces the amount of stimulus coming off your phone, and you will be less drawn to it. You'll be less stimulated by your phone, and you'll start to use it less. Now, as we travel together through time, more social media platforms will come out, new technologies will arrive, and you will be convinced to join. It's how you interact with it that will affect all of our futures. I'll end by asking this. Are we going to accept the inevitable change or simply pass the cancer stick? Thank you.